welcome to this a long-awaited session from Mr. Kanwaljeet Jawa. I don't think he need any introduction. He is one of the tallest alumni. He is not making our college proud. He's also making our country also proud. He's one of the leader in HVAC industry. That's one. He's on board of Daikin in Japan. He's handling. Actually, he is contributing so much to our country also through CII, through various associations. He's on advisory board of few colleges. He's on advisory board of, if I speak, I think there's a long list, and you all know about Mr. Jawa. And Mr. Jawa, thank you very much for taking your time for your alumni to share. I just quickly share this initiative of MOB Learning Group is basically idea given by our immediate past president, Mr. Naveen Sood. He wanted that we should create a platform. On this platform, people can cross-learn from each other. We can bring speakers like you, people who can add a lot of value. And then we did a small survey from people and asked what exactly they are looking at, various aspects of life. It could be personal life, it could be professional life. And from various topics, one of the topic was how can we be leaders or being entrepreneurs, how we deal with certain diverse situations. And Mr. Jawa, in your illustrious career of 40 years, I'm sure there are various stages, that bubble which burst, or it could be recent pandemic, or I'm sure in between there must be a lot of situations within your organization where you had situations totally against the organization and the leader. And we all know that, you have came out in flying colors, not as a leader, but also you brought to the organization where it is today. So the idea today is to, go through and gather some pulse of wisdom. But before we go there, I would request our President Sukhdev Singh, Mr. Sukhdev Singh, if you are here, I would really request you to, extend your warm welcome to Mr. Jawa and the whole MOB community. It would also be a good idea to switch on your cameras for a moment so that everybody is there and we can click a picture also who all are present here. We are also doing a video recording. It's there. So, Mr. Sukhdev Singh, please, sir. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, Jawaji.
Good morning, sir.
Dear KJ Jawa, Asim Hanspal, and my family of MOB learners. What a wonderful day. Mother Nature has not only been quenching our thirst, but filling the coffers for the coming winter months. And here, this learner program. The best thing about this program is that all of us come together as students. Henry Ford said, I quote, anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. So friends, by joining today's program, you have taken the first step to be young and open-minded. YMCA MOB continues endeavor to help every member in their life, be it career or medical support or further enhancement through continuous learning. Recently concluded bridge course has been a good step in this direction. Bridge course has helped more than 200 alumnus in realizing their dream for getting a BTech degree. We are working with the authorities to help you all with further upskilling through MTech and MBA programs. Coming to today's session, we have a leader par excellence in Mr. Jawa, who has seen it all. A doyen of HVAC industry, Mr. Jawa has nurtured many of his juniors for leadership positions. Many of our RHC alumni praise him and consider him as a godfather. He has been helpful and enabling for fellow juniors and the institution. And Daikin Center of Excellence at the university established by him is a shining example of an alumni caring for his alma mater. I am sure he will enrich us all with his vast experience and wisdom today. Before I sign off, I would just say keep learning and be positive. Howsoever the times, we keep trying, as most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. These are the words of Dale Carnegie. Therefore, my friends, keep learning and keep trying. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring words, not only about MOB, but also appreciating Mr. Jawa. And we all know that what he has been doing for the organization, for the country, as well as for our life. Mr. Jawa, once again, a warm welcome to you, as well as to a good gathering of alumni today. I could see another great leader, Arun Bhatia, who's leading another organization in similar area, which is HVAC industry. I could also see people joining from other places. Brijesh is there, Mr. Bisla is there, Steve Chauhan sir is there, and they are still adding up. So not taking much time, Mr. Jawa, as we discussed, I had asked the group for certain questions, and they have given me certain questions, which I'll definitely ask you. But before we get into that, I would like you to start and share what your experience has been, right, about college, about alumni, and maybe where we are today. And then as we progress, I will ask those questions. And for all other people also, what we are thinking, in case at any discussion point you have a question to build on the conversation, please feel free, raise your hand, and then you can ask that question. Or towards end also, we can have a small question and answer session to gain the pulse of wisdom from Mr. Jawa. So Mr. Jawa, all up to you now.
Thank you. Thank you, Asim. Thank you, Mr. Sukhdev Singh, our president, for this warm introduction for me. I do not know whether I deserve that much or no of praise, but yes, I firmly believe what Sukhdevji said, that learning should never stop, and that has been my mantra also right from beginning, and I keep practicing it. Although I spent now almost 40 plus years, but I keep learning, unlearning, and relearning. So that is a very, very good mantra to start with for all my ex-course mates, my YMCA family, ladies and gentlemen, and all other outside guests. It's a privilege and an honor for me to be part of this gathering and share my journey and experiences. A couple of days back, when Asim told me about this initiative, I said, well, the theme which you are putting, the leadership and dealing with crisis, you should always look at, when you talk about crisis, I see crisis as an opportunity. I see every adversity brings advantage. I see there is always a silver lining after the dark clouds. Be it the dot-com bubble burst, be it Lehman Brothers crisis, be it tsunami in Japan, or Thailand floods, or recent floods in India, and the 2019 and 2000 global crises, pandemic, epidemic. My experiences are open for you to take cues. Well, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a professor, I'm one amongst you. I'm not a preacher either. and I'm not your grandfather. So I think my experiences are open to build your own crisis manual as you deem fit and relevant for a time in future. I hope that I would be able to light up some part of uncertainty and darkness that surrounds these kind of crises. I just happen to be born few years before you, and I just happen to work with Chinese, Americans, some of the Indians, top conglomerates, and also with Americans for 14 years, and now I'm with Japanese for the last almost 11 years. So I think my mantras are common. You know, my life and leadership mantras are: whenever the crisis comes, keep positivity at back of your mind. Of course, you have to first figure out that how to survive in that crisis. So many of the executives I have spoken to, my international colleague or within the country, you know, in the CII or FICCI or SHM or RAMA, where I'm the president of Refrigeration Air Conditioning Manufacturer Association, where we have tall leaders like Arun Bhatia and many others. You know, I'm sure many of them will be sitting here, and many of those who are not sitting here, we keep engaging with them. We keep interacting with them from time to time. In fact, by the time this 2019 crisis came, and till now, I would have attended more than 125 webinars. That is primarily for not teaching, primarily for sharing. So I'm also looking at today's session more from my learning perspective rather than, or learning or sharing perspective rather than, you know, trying to teach. See, many companies either did not see it or did not believe common metrics of economic and financial distress. First crisis of COVID, when it came in 2019, our problem was we didn't have COVID kits, we did not have sanitizers, we did not have medicines. We didn't know actually what, our doctors did not know what medicine to be given. And that was perhaps the biggest economic crisis after the World War II. But I think the kind of leadership in the crisis, you know, if a fine example has to be seen, what Mr. Modi did, I think he brought his enemies together. That was one time when I saw that, you know, the state governments, the central government, the health workers, the doctors, everyone came together, and this country showed that resilience. Everyone listened to him, and there was no opposition. 40 days lockdown. Everybody was put into a situation where we didn't know what to do, and we still came out of that crisis. That's hats off to the police authorities, and hats off to the collaborative efforts. I think you must increase in every crisis your forums of listening at the edge of creative dissent. It's not that the dissent was not there, because the Kejriwals of the world, you will always have Mamata Banerjees of the world, you will have Stallions of the world, but you know, it's how you actually declare that, you know, these how 40 days were so important for everyone, because this was a survival. And always you feel that, you know, and I learned that the second crisis, when it came, when we all thought that this is almost over, and you know, first quarter 2020, we started seeing economy coming back, and the second crisis came. Second was much more serious, because this time it was a human tragedy. This was not in addition to economic. We didn't have oxygen. We didn't have ventilators. We had no beds. And at the same time, what had happened was that this time the spirits were different. The health workers had already suffered. They were fatigued. So I think, again, you have to actually get into your inner circle people, and within 25 days, this country again came out. The world started supporting you. The kind of resilience which I have seen in this country, which fought this pandemic together, this is something which is just a example in the beginning, you know, I want to start with. And then I think I would like to make this more interactive. See, ensure that you have in you inner circle who will never allow you to fall into the destructive cycle of excessive confidence or arrogance and denial. So we should learn from these kind of crises. We should not do what Dick Flood did to destroy the Lehman Brothers company that he had built and loved at that time. So I think every crisis gives you a new experience, and every crisis, this crisis was too big, and every crisis actually, like our crisis, use that as an opportunity. And also the bigger crime is that, you know, the neighborhood opportunity should be encashed. So taking the steps necessary to get your organization onto dry ground and far enough from the storm surge, you should evaluate your current state with a clarity which is very paramount. Second, after survival, I think ask yourself what you can do, what you could not do before. There are umpteen numbers of experiences. I can go on and on, but I can just tell you that, you know, with those past experiences of getting success of every opportunity, every adversity into opportunity, we can learn a lot. You will be better off than you were once the crisis is over if you act faster than the fastest. And within your own organization, how quickly
Fantastic, sir.
dynamics of talent retention have changed differently. So ask yourself, I think maybe the opportunity could be, you know, in this kind of economic crisis, out of 10, 6 companies may be running weak. There could be an opportunity of merger and acquisition, just to give you a, so you should have a free thinking and you should be dreaming for the big. Finally, you should not be winning. Oh, I didn't create the crisis. Why me? On the contrary, I think you should think that why not me? So I think in this, leaders in crisis put aside very understandable anger. You must have compassion for people, mitigate their hardships, and encash that as an opportunity. Pandemic is a new landscape, the arc of opportunity and prosperity for you. Reach beyond survival, guiding your organization. So I think this is something which I have seen, and you know, I will be too happy to actually make this session interactive, but I have many experiences of tsunami, of pandemic. I mean, this is something which I would like to, I will be too happy to actually make this session interactive, but I have many experiences of tsunami, of pandemic. I mean, this is something which I would like to answer.
Sure, sir. I think a lot of insights in whatever you shared till now, and I could see that humility in you when you talked about that you're among one of us. You are a learner yourself. That's fantastic. Sir, I have a question now. You mentioned that you have seen different, stages and challenges which were not created by us, like dot-com bubble, maybe Lehman Brothers, tsunami, floods, and recent pandemic. So what could you see any similarity between past crises or current crisis, or did you see any dissimilarity, and how did you, handle these? My question is, all crises are similar in nature, or they are in different nature? So one thing is, of course, they are happening at different timelines. They would be different because external environment is different. But for a person, an organization which is in crisis, for that person, crisis is a crisis. So did you see any similarity or anything you would like to share on that, sir?
I think the same, I'll try and answer your question slightly differently.
Sure.
I believe, and I see that, sometimes when you read a good book, I read sometime back the quote, like Sukhdevji was mentioning many quotes from Henry Ford, and, I also saw one quote about Winston Churchill. Rather than looking at similarity, because I have so much of confidence now that, when I said to you that every good crisis, never waste a good crisis. So whenever there is a crisis, I rather start looking at that, okay, what is the opportunity in this? So times of crisis in the business sector can often lead to an overall improvement in the community. See, in this scenario also, weak entrants often might leave the game when the environment worsens. So that would be your opportunity for an entry for new players, for better quality, smaller parameters of quality and value of commercial behavior. So over the past months, I have seen crisscrossed continents. Speaking to top executives in many industries, I have witnessed firsthand just how far-reaching and interdependent the current economic and pandemic downturn is. While there may be a similarity into the downturn, but at the same time, despite of different issues, different type of crisis, there is commonality of great leaders in times like this. It can be summed up again: never waste a crisis. We don't yet know how hard this crisis is going to be, but there is a shared sense that beyond the current crisis, once you survive, there lies a significant opportunity. And maybe when we have time, I will tell you, because every crisis, to name few, when we had tsunami, I was in Japan. And when my plane was about to land, somebody told me, oh, this is not the place to be landed because the plane was moving like this. Right? So he said, I know you are all having anxiety, but believe you me, at that particular year when the tsunami hit us hard, maybe in Japan, I mean, our Indian turnover doubled. Similarly, when I see the, after Lehman crisis, our company in India was very small about 11 years back, and we have grown over 15 times. And we have seen every year the new crisis. Tsunami in 2011, floods in Thailand where the stuff was coming in from, because under FTA, we could not get components. We moved maybe to Malaysia, maybe to Taiwan, at that particular moment. But yes, I think that opportunity was encashed because that built our channel confidence. We had a big fire in the factory. We had a big industrial issues because Japanese were trying to actually learn in India because they have a different management style. But crisis actually taught us, and that got converted into, and we kept on growing every year. And similarly, the Japan in this situation, when the pandemic came, I think the whole thing went differently. Yeah.
Absolutely right, sir. So what you're trying to say that crises are opportunities, and if you can look at those opportunities and not get bogged down when that, you will be not able to learn, but you'll be able to come out of it very well. So now you talked about different crises, and as a leader, leading a business or leading an organization itself is a challenge. But when crises come, the challenge becomes bigger. So if you could just share in last 2-3 years, or maybe previous to that, whenever these crises hit, and as you said, it gave you a lot of learning. As a leader, what are top 3-4 learning which you have, which you can share with us, so that when we hit a crisis as a leader, how can we remember those top 3-4 learning and act upon them?
You see, everybody is unclear. So leader has to be clear first. Maybe internally he may have doubts, but he cannot display that doubts to the people. I will tell you a example. We are always looking to spread the goodness. Even if you are weak, or even if you are internally facing some challenges, you can't show it to the world because people are actually looking at you. In my own company, when you are asking me, I was sitting in the board meeting, and at 12:30, when I hear from my house that, my daughter, who's a doctor, I will give you a lifetime example that, she got COVID because she was working in Safdarjung hospital. So I was sitting with my friends, who is my co-colleague, and we are working together for last almost 34 years. And he's also YMCA Alumni. So I told Kuldeepak Virmani that, Virmani, there is a problem at my home. Maybe I have to go. I didn't tell him what the problem was. And by the time I reached home, my wife also got COVID. And this was the first time. Now imagine if nobody was clear at that time, and that was the first time COVID, and no one was clear. It is not sensational story, but when I shared with my boss in Japan. He said, look, gentlemen, we are all concerned about you, but you need to look at that. You are being seen as a leader. While we sympathize with you, while we are with you, we want to take care of you. But till the time you are detected yourself, please do not spread this message and keep positivity with you. And I suddenly realized, oh, now I have to follow government protocols, and I informed each one of my senior leaders who are sitting with me that, look, there is a crisis. I have not been infected as yet, but all of you have to keep yourself away, isolated, but do not create any panic. So in this situation, leader has to lead from the front and have to spread goodness. There were many ways we tried to spread the goodness at that time. The same next evening, I was to address about 700 ICRA and Nirata and Rama members on the positivity, because the crisis were probably bigger for them. Now, if I would have not led from the front, perhaps, or I would have skipped that meeting and not shown, because leader has to take a bigger pain in the time of crisis and has to elevate the confidence of the subordinates. Similarly, there are many, many examples. In this crisis, you had to start COVID vaccination for your people in the factory. Now, there are many umpteen numbers of examples. The Japanese Institute of Manufacturing Excellence University, which we have created, of empowering the women. Now, these women are from downtrodden areas. Now, they could not go back during this pandemic. And second pandemic, they didn't want to go back. So you had to take care of them, providing food at their end, taking care of them, spreading goodness. So I think arranging COVID vaccination. So these are all things which, you have to create continuous communication, continuous engagement, continuous showing them that, what is happening. There are good things and bad things, because there were many examples that time, immediately after the crisis was over, one of my, again, good friend's son maybe worked for a large automobile company, because automobile company showed that the sales were probably higher than, in a month, sale was higher than the last 10 years, never higher sales. So, I think there was mid-segment and passenger car sales was going up. The labor was gradually returning back to cities. So I take pride in saying that Daikin India showed enormous sum of resilience, the stability during the pandemic to shine as the most stable organization with the mission to achieve all our goals. Our spirits were not dampened. Our investment commitments continued, because globally the direction went into a different, maybe refrigeration business became a biggest opportunity for us, because for COVID vaccination storage, we had acquired a couple of companies which were not doing well for the last few years, like AHT and Zenoti and JW. So I think we started looking at what we were not doing earlier. We looked at the new opportunities. We got into the air cleaner business, which was 1.4 million air purifiers was sold. So I think, nutshell, I am again trying to communicate that while we were concerned about safety of our people, survival of our people, at the same time we were looking at, okay, in this crisis, what are the opportunities which we can see?
Thank you, sir. So now there's a very interesting, question, and it is generally debate within leadership. Whenever there is a crisis on the organization, the crisis is known to leadership first. So what is your take on? Should that crisis and the reality shared that with the team, or it should not be shared? Because if we share that crisis with the team, it may lead to panic in them. And if we don't share, then they are not aware about the reality, what is happening or what is going to hit them. So what is your take on that as a leader, that whenever we hit a crisis or hit a trouble spot, we should share with the team, bring them on the same page, or we should not?
No, I think you have to be very selective and very choosy. You should not create panic. That is definitely a point, because you have all sorts of people within your core group also, within your inner circle also. If you have, in my own case, I have 11 vice presidents directly reporting to me. So each one is a different personality altogether. So you have to choose, surely and certainly you have to be honest in your communication, you have to be open in your communication, you have to be transparent in your communication, and you must practice what you preach. So it can't be seen that, if you are having that 3 H's, which I keep saying that, you must show that. Without humbleness or humility, you can't work. Without hard work or without displaying that on your face. So, some of them with whom you have been working for so many years, with them, you should be very open and transparent in communication. And crisis should be shared with them. Ideas should be taken with them. And it's a fine example again. 18th was a crisis. 22nd onwards, we started our Microsoft meetings. And every morning, those inner circle was probably asked to communicate further to 10,000 dealers, to probably what to communicate, what not to be communicated. That was all discussed with the core team, because the collaborative efforts becomes very, very important. While communicating also, you have to have positivity. So that what you communicate, how you communicate becomes very, very important. But communicate. There is no compromise on that. But whom to communicate, what to communicate, which way to communicate, that becomes more important. And that's where, you actually find the difference in good leaders and bad leaders. Some leaders may be very good in their work, but, if they are not good in communication, or if they can give a wrong communication, that you have to control it through your own inner circle.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I'm sure, we all are picking up pulse of wisdom from your own experience. Now, moving a little away from crisis and moving towards leadership. Now, in leadership, it's not only crisis, it's also other kind of challenges. And if you look at your career back and the time you have been leading various challenging assignments, can you share one or two crises which were a leadership crisis within an organization? It could be related to competition, it could be related to a team member, or it could be related to something internal. And how did you handle that? And what is the learning as a leader you can share with us?
You see, when I will tell you an interesting case. I joined an American multinational, which was actually to make a start. Now, before that, I was in the conglomerate, probably one of the biggest, where I was one of the senior member of the team. When I joined the new company, the challenge was that we were not known in the market, and we had to create a buzz in the market that, they may be American leaders, but in India, I'm talking about Carrier Aircon, because many colleagues are sitting here from across the world. We were known as a courier company. Perhaps my own family member did not know that what Carrier was. It may be the biggest company in the world, but my own family members thought that I have gone mad. So and I had just got married at that time, and my in-law started thinking that, what is this man doing? I mean, he's leaving Tata's and he's joining a new company which does not have any name, any start. Either it was known as a transport company or a courier company. But I knew it that, the people who were behind this, what was the story. And I think that gave me a lot of confidence inside that, people, you don't have to listen to people. When you know that the challenge of this nature you face, you should be showing your own gut feeling, your gumption, your grit. And if you have taken some courageous decision, you should stay with it. So many times this comes when we wanted to launch in Voltas. When I rejoined Voltas, an air conditioner of, on the platform of Nano, that ab har koi le sake AC ka maza, the 9999, we launched an AC. There was a lot of challenges at different places. So, but if you are strong, if you have aligned thinking, and if you can, in every situation, you have to show your passions, you have to show your perseverance, and you have to show your conviction as a leader. So I can share a couple of examples with you on that front. In 2010, perhaps we launched a refrigerant which was globally accepted refrigerant in Japan, not globally, probably US was resisting to it. So when we wanted to bring in India, the entire competition was against it. And today that refrigerant is actually being used by 90% of the competition. It was R32 refrigerant where the global warming potential was 1/4. So you should be very clear what you want to do. And if the challenges will come, it is not that in every situation, you with your gut feel, your conviction, you can do it. The third example was that we wanted to launch. So Daikin was always known to be a company which is a high image, high end, not maybe high market share. So we wanted to be a high market share company here, and we launched an air conditioner which was less than $200 in our 95th year. So all this goes that challenges again should be seen as an opportunity. I firmly believe in Shiv Khera's words that winners don't do different things, they do it differently. And once you start looking at things differently on your challenges also should be seen with a sight of positivity. So I'm a very optimistic man. I always see glass half full. When others see half empty, I see half full.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. And to all my, fellow alumni, please hit your questions on chat. I'll ask those questions on your behalf to Mr. Jawa. I've already got certain questions. I'm going to ask them one by one. But before we go there, one question, Mr. Jawa, which is there is about competition. You said you want to grow, you want to become bigger, and when you have to grow, you have to become bigger. There is always competition to beat, or there is competition after you to beat you. Now, how did you handle that differently to become the leader, to take the organization where it is today? What are 2 or 3 key takeaways you had while dealing with competition, or pearls of wisdom you can share with us, how to handle competition while you are trying to become leader?
Welcome competition with open arms.
Okay.
Competition actually teaches you a lot. And you should look at the, it's a very, very interesting question you have asked. And, I can reply in for this question, maybe in hours, in months, years. I would only like to share the latest one, Last year, my competitors came to me when I was, I had just been promoted as a board director of Daikin. The entire competition came, so-called Refrigeration and Air Conditioning Manufacturer Association. They didn't see my promotion as a sort of competition to me, because I've always believed in that philosophy of grow the market, create the market. This country has scale, skill, and sustainability. So when you start elevating yourself, and when you get this kind of a respect, I don't really see. So I start working with a collaborative effort. How can we actually grow? How can competition grow? And once you are sincere, I think people by and large respond to you like that. And this year I was offered a Rama president. So very interesting story, I will say that, one of our alumni only started saying that Mr. Jawa does not need an introduction because he has been in for 40 years and he has been my mentor and coach. There were 3 or 4 competitors, CEOs stood up and said that, not only you, probably he's a mentor and a coach to us also. So when you have actually that kind of respect coming at you, your responsibility becomes bigger. So, and there are n number of opportunities for this country. We are just comparing ourselves with China. The corporate whispers in China. The market is more than 100 million there, and our market was not even 7 million. So when I actually showed my own vision that, come on, let's have our own common vision to create the market and grow the market. There are ways and means of it. And when we said that out of 7 million, 4.5 million only air conditioners are being produced in India, 2.5 million comes from China. everyone started looking at togetherness rather than the competition. And when we went and represented to the DPIT, to the Invest India and to Niti Aayog, and we said that this country can actually go to 40 million at least in next 10 years. And you see the PLI actually was given to us by the Prime Minister himself. So when you work together with the competition, you can show a different world, right? In competition, you have to move faster than the fastest. But I think you should not only look at that. I have in my life never believed in winning by showing the competition down. On the contrary, I have shown that we are not superior and they are not inferior. Whosoever can add value on the innovation, on sustainability, on showing the bigger features, they win. And if you are winning together, there are 1.3 billion people. There is an opportunity for everyone. And this is the finest example I can tell you that I was with the secretary yesterday and we had meeting with your commerce minister a couple of weeks back. The minister himself understood, and today in this period, we have got this production linked incentive, which is almost 7,000 crore, which will create the ecosystem for this country. So I don't look at my company, I don't look at myself, don't look at competition, I look at the country first. And this is what I have learned over a period of time with the greatest leaders like Ratan Tata, with Mr. Sareen, with Mr. Lahiri. When he was the president, he used to teach us the same thing. So you also, I would say I was very fortunate to have my mentors like this, and I also have my colleagues or some of my inner circle people on whom I depend very heavily on these philosophies, and they all are aligned towards this.
Very, very interesting take on competition, sir, that collaborate with competition and don't try to beat them. And also I could also gather when you said as a leader you should have feeling of abundance. Is sabke liye sab kuch hai, market is very huge. These are fantastic. It's a very interesting question Brijesh Tyagi has asked. Absolutely, sir. A very interesting question Brijesh Tyagi has asked is, what do you think about India's plan and capability on R&D? Maybe not from country point of view, but because you are part of various associations and you have inside news. So what do you think? Is our capability increasing? Is enough being spent on our capability on R&D? Are we still looking towards China and other countries? Though we have definitely a lot of impact due to Make in India, but still, what is your view on that, sir?
No, I think you just look at how many global R&D centers have come in India. That itself will give you an answer. United Technologies has an R&D center here. In my own trade, I'm talking. I'm not going outside.
Sure. Sure.
Hitachi has put up a global R&D center. Daikin has put up AI IoT center, global AI IoT center. And many, even Pratt and Whitney has an R&D center here. Cognizant. You just look at, you name it and we have it. Why? And partly I gave you the answer. One is the Indian scale, which is 18% of the world population. Second is Middle East and Africa, 17% population. So 35% of the market you can cater from India. And the second is, you can cater to the world. So we may have been behind, but I can tell you the kind of governmental actions which have taken place after Mr. Modi has taken over, and the kind of turbocharged economy which is in India at this point of time. I mean, we'll only be fools if we do not encash on this opportunity. I firmly believe that, because the opportunity which is lying in the neighborhood on the R&D center, and we did that. Why we have come here and opened a global R&D center in India? I mean, I have 3 R&D centers now. One R&D center we had in the first space when we actually put up our factory. And this all, when you sit on an international board, these are not cleared just like that. Primarily, and not today we have 3, because one in Hyderabad, which is AI IoT center, our plans are to put up 500 engineers there. And one expansion, we have done it in Gurgaon, which is primarily catering to our sister companies like Goodman and the Daikin Applied America, that R&D center. And this is not only Daikin, I think you take all the other companies also, automobiles also, primarily because our cost versus Japan today. One is that, we hire IIT from here and send it to them, or we hire YMCA engineers from here and send it to Europe or to US or to Japan training center. Second is that we actually establish those world-class facilities here and give them all that what they get it in the TIC right here in Gurgaon. The cost versus US is probably 1/7, cost versus Japan is 1/5. And you get the same skill. And in India, you have better skill available. One, manpower. Second, the cost factor. So you can't afford not to be in India. If you are not, then perhaps you will not be at a competitive advantage. So this realization has been given, and I want to give this message to all my fellow colleagues here that India offers the tremendous opportunity, and the golden era has started with this kind of leadership at the top. So I wish I was 20 years younger and I could have shown those, but nevertheless, I'm still driving this with very big passion. India is a destination which no one can afford not to be having an R&D center. And you mark my words, you see how innovation is taking place. On sustainability front, on environmental front, today our air conditioners or our cars are as good as international platforms. We produce the same air conditioner which is being produced in 160 countries, primarily because you don't compromise on research and development. Connectivity has shortened distances. And if your product is not of that global standard, one, your government will not clear it because energy labeling is there, and there also government is very proactive. At the same time, the connectivity has shortened distances. One complaint of one individual, Asim Hanspal, can put it on a mail and can go to the global directors at the same time. So I think you need to deliver good quality products at the same time at an appropriate price, and India is the best destination for that. So R&D is something which is a big opportunity.
Absolutely. I think, and I fully agree with you, because in my own work, I work with a lot of small and medium enterprises, Indian companies, and I see all of them investing in R&D. They are trying to develop products, they are trying to bring things into India, and of course, government policy is helping that. Sir, another very fantastic question Surendra Sharma asked, and I think this question I have faced many times, and I would like to have views on that. It is generally said as a young leader, let data drive your decision. You should be looking at data, and that analysis of data should be driving your decision. But once you are experienced enough and you reach to a senior level and senior position, the feeling generally proceed over data, your experience, your gut feeling, your overall thing. Is it true? What is your thought on this? Or still at senior level, you should be data driven?
See, many of my friends may not agree, those who are young Turks, You see Zomato, what they have done. They have created a market capitalization bigger than Tata Motors, or they have created a recent IPO which came for them. Also, Mahindra and Mahindra. They may 100% say that, it should be data driven. And I don't think that you have a choice not to have a good data system storage. But at the same time, I don't want people to misunderstand this message. I will tell you my own thinking, and which I say it with a lot of conviction, and people may say, Azim Premji did not have an iPad, or Mr. Sareen did not have an iPad, and they were also successful leaders and they established it. So I think it has to be a combination of both. It should not be over dependence on data, while it is a very, very important tool that, today digitization is the word. We have also invested in this particular period almost about 20 million only on digitization, because everything is, touchless connection. And you have to have, I have 10 million customers to whom I render annual maintenance contract or warranty services. So I don't have that choice. But at the same time, when I say when we are putting up AI, IoT, that all demonstrates that how serious we are on data. But also I keep telling people in Japan that, they are 80% planning and 20% doing. So 80% cannot be. Whereas the market is, Koreans led. This was I'm talking about 10 years back, where 20% planning and, data and 80% execution. And India typically, or you operate with either too much of data or you don't have data. So I think my own rule I have devised is 60-40. If you go and have data to actually take decision, and your gut says that with your experience that 60% data and 40% you should use your conviction and then execution. Otherwise, sometimes you keep planning 100% on data, and that may not be an appropriate. Maybe 10 years later that may become, but that is subjective, may become, may not become. I always have felt that if you are going with your conviction, that you should start implementing it, because execution becomes more important than only having the strategy.
Okay, got it, sir. I think it's a well-balanced decision you have to take at time. Just taking to R&D and other things, although in past few years, sir, image about Indian product, our capability, our capacity, a lot of business has moved from China to India, talks about our enhancing capability and other things. But still, the worldwide image of our products are not very, very high today. And also, if you see recent, auto giants like GM or Harley or Ford exiting from here, how does it impact the image of our country and image of industry to the worldwide?
I don't know whether you have seen that or no. Yesterday I read about Ford, and today again Economic Times has clarified that very clearly. You see, the industry has actually attracted $35 billion. So automobile industry today, if you look at, you have to be efficient. You can't operate in Indian market because Indian market is a very, very price sensitive market. It needs excellent products. It does not need overrated. So I shouldn't be commenting on Ford or General Motors. This is not my comment in that context.
Sure.
But you see the example of Toyota. I'm a very good friend of Vikram Kirloskar, and we sit on the same dais many times because he was also a CI member. Today our cars are 20% cheaper. Maybe we don't have a global supply chain, but these cars are being exported. Look at Suzuki. 50% of Baleno is going to Japan. So I think if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. I would not comment on these two companies. If you are, but as a industry, I think as a country, I think there is a lot of positive supercharged economy. Who has got this kind of an IPO? LIC is coming with 100,000 crore of IPO. Paytm is coming 16,000 crore IPO. Did you ever think of? So I think we are in a very buoyant situation. We shouldn't worry about these things, and these things will not deter. In my own company, I've been able to get, for third factory clearance, which is almost double than what our existing factory at Nimrana is, because I've shown them that make in India, make for exports. India is the best destination actually for exports. Now we are going in that direction. There are China haters, because the corporate whispers of China is very, very bad, and China has been exposed now. Chinese government papers have been found by the Indian government. So I don't think that, you were not in that situation where you could take head on. But today, I think we are in a situation where we are knuckling down.
Fair, sir. Right? Fair comment.
That investment from 15,000 companies were there in China, and all of them are withdrawing that from there. Why? Because of the basic DNA. So the philosophy, and that investment was to come to 5 countries, 5 mighty countries, and India was including that in that. So I think all other 4 are full now. So even in automobiles also, GM may have gone, Ford may have gone, but there are equally very, very successful examples. of Kia Motors, of Suzuki, of Toyota Innova, such a good car, I mean, at such an appropriate price. So you need to have a product.
Thank you, sir. Fair. There are certain questions which are coming typically about your business. There are certain very technical. So I'm right now leaving them out because we want more on leadership and crisis and how we engage and move on. But there's one question I think which is not only for your industry, but which is a lot of talk has been happening around, and a lot of organizations facing that challenge, which is between e-commerce and on ground. The question which came is basically, how do we keep our dealers and people who are selling in the shops and showrooms to compete with giants like Amazon and e-com? So how do you do that in your organization? Because your business is also driven largely by dealer distributor network, whereas Amazon and other e-commerce are also providing similar products, maybe at a cheaper price somehow. I don't know how, but how do you motivate and engage your dealer distributor? I think that's a more appropriate question.
I think the last question is most difficult, and you're touched my personal nerves on this.
I know.
See, I'm a channel man, and my blood is with channel. My family is my channel. My vendors, my associates, and my message is always that I'm whatever I am because of that channel and distributors. So I'm quite clear. I will fight till my last. I may look like emotional, which I am. I will definitely create a situation where we get success through them, because we have got success through the channel only, right? And you can still have a parallel model. You can still take care of the channel and e-commerce both. And in our own, so I will answer your question in two ways. Surely and certainly, Amazon has created a model which is required, or the other e-commerce company. But I still firmly believe it is not that in our industry, they can survive at their own without the support of the channel. So we are creating a model, and that model what we have created is that we have also created our independent site. While we are available at Amazon also, and also at the other e-commerce channels, but we have ensured that we don't 100% depend on them. At the same time, they also take advantage of our network or our channel for installation, commissioning, for on-the-spot guidance, technical expertise, etc., etc. So you can still have, as of now, you can still have that model and this model working together. Maybe our product is engineering products, so that may be the reason. But I still feel that you will need channel if you really want to cover the length and breadth of this country, and you want to ensure that your customers are actually serviced with the right kind of advice, with the right kind of proper service, etc., etc. This is my take on this.
Absolutely. Now, sir, certain interesting questions when people want to know about Mr. Jawa. So, one of the question which which has come from Amit Malik, I think from Singapore. He's asking, what is the secret of your passion and, the way you are going for the last 40 years, and they see, because they are from your industry, they see the same passion, energy, conviction, everything. So what keeps you going, sir?
People like Amit Malik only. Yeah. So we come from a same town. I also come from Rohtak. I don't know whether you are aware or no. It's about 90 kilometers from our national capital region. And this question, a lot of people ask. So maybe Amit also may have asked, and Amit may have got some answers also. But last few years, maybe he has become Singaporean now. So Amit, I moved to Delhi in 1977, and I started my professional and personal journey. And my journey is actually similar to your journey. I don't want to be seen that I'm more successful or you are less successful. You are also equally successful person. So I think when we actually come, or when I started in Mumbai in 1980 as a trainee in refrigerator division, I was asked to sit on a motorcycle behind a technician to take a bag. So I've seen those three things, which, you know, right from that journey to till this journey. And in between, there are many examples. I honed my skills in after sales service and started my sales in carrier aircon, selling compressors again. Then I joined, you know, this multinational, which I was telling, courier company or transport company. We started selling compressors to dealers in Daryaganj and Karol Bagh, to setting up distribution across the country and leading a large zones of the country. Then I became a country manager and P&L head of operation. And this third stint was, I think, after 14 years, I went to Voltas at a national level, where 2001 to 2006, I led an Indian business of an Indian large conglomerate, where I became one of the director on the board of a joint venture company. So, and then I led an Italian company, which was Uniflare, which is now Schneider Electric, because our company was purchased. So many greenfields I have set up, but I always thought, in whichever situation, whenever, wherever I was, my desire was right from beginning, from hunger to heritage. And that I was fortunate to create whichever company I have worked with, the growth and prosperity of that company has grown along with me. So I saw myself growth with the three fundamental things, that, you know, hard work, honesty, and humbleness and humility. Even, you know, whichever, after serving these companies, I joined Daikin. When I took the journey to lead the Daikin, I told myself that, you know, so that whatever learning in these situations, a lot of people started asking that question. So whichever, wherever situation I was never scared of. I was always fearless. I was always courageous. So you can't find me being afraid in any situation, in any thoughtful, yes, but afraid, no. A leader cannot be afraid of taking risks. When I set my goals and achieve my goals, I keep changing the goalposts. And I followed very simple mantras of thinking beyond the belief. I always thought that, oh, I'm taking this position, whether I will get success or no, because I'm not Howard, I'm not. But when I actually start looking at those three fundamentals, that gives me a lot of belief. And I've always been open to learning, which Sukhdevji said that, you know, I learn from leaders. I'm actually learning from my co-colleagues. I'm learning from my technician of my dealers. So I learn from all. Learning should never stop at any end. And you have, like I said, when I see that, you know, if you are fair, if you are transparent, if you are generous, sometimes you actually get very tempted when you actually listen. I know that I don't like, people know that I don't like bootleggers. At the same time, when you actually see their genuine, you know, concern about you, you feel very touched, and that gives you a lot of satisfaction. So I think these are few. I don't know whether I've been able to answer him or no. I will try.
सर आपने वो सीक्रेट आपने सीक्रेट फार्मूला तो नहीं दिया जो हम जानना चाहते थे आपके पैशनेट और आज तक चलते रहने का. We'll keep digging that, because you said a lot of people asked you this question.
I'm telling you, I have not finished this. At the end of the day, if top line is growing and you have a problem, knowledge is a starting point. You have to have knowledge of sales. You have to have knowledge of brand building. You have to have knowledge of manufacturing, operation, and finance. And I could do the job. So those things I'm not discussing. I'm a great believer in having the right aligned team. So if you have to sum it up, willingness to learn and align are even more important than the past track record. And servant leadership, I learned from my colleagues. I keep telling my vice president that I report to you. Yeah, someone said. So I clearly, if you have hiring for attitude and training for skills, and if you move, you're not top driven, not bottom driven, with collaboration, you get success, and share that credit. So in one word, if somebody has to describe me, 2-3 days back, somebody was telling me, I'm basically called people's man, or people's manager.
Okay. Fantastic, sir. Now there are more hands are being raised, but there's another interesting question, and this speaks to my profession also. Now Sanjeev Sachdeva from Dubai, I think he's also from the similar industry. He asked a very interesting question, because you talked about mentors. He said, what is the importance of having a mentor to guide you, even at a senior level?
Yeah, whether you call it whatever you call it, because you are a professor, I am not, but let me tell you, you must have few good people in your circle. You can call it mentors, you can call it friends, and it need not to be very senior tagged professor. Those who believe in simplicity, those who are aligned with you, those who are knowledgeable, and those who are positive thinkers. I think I was very fortunate right from beginning when I started my career. I have seen, they could be your friends, they could be your dealers, they could be your, batchmates, they could be your seniors. So I think our college also gave an excellent platform. If you learn actually by sharing, and if you are open and transparent, you should definitely spend in a very focused way some time to interacting with people who could actually be genuinely very free to communicate that with the critique feedback you can get. So I've always had those people in my life, and I have maintained that relationship. They may be today competitors of mine also, but still I allow them to actually give feedback about me. Right?
Absolutely right, sir.
Very, very important, because mentor actually gives you a perspective. Mentor should be a genuine mentor.
I think very well said, sir. And I strongly myself, if you allow me to add 2 cents of my experience, you can call them mentor, you can call them critic, you can call them devil's advocate, you can call them coach. Advisory board is very common nowadays, but these all things really help you they can show you the mirror, and they can also put hard questions to you, and they see things holistically. I think it's very important. It keeps going for everybody. Fantastic. I think Rajesh Katyal, Rajesh, do you want to ask that question yourself? Because I'm sure that question must be burning in everybody's mind.
Yeah, I can ask actually. My question to Mr. Jawa is about the work-life relationship, because he has done extremely well in his professional life. I would like to know, does it dent your family life, or you are able to manage
work-life balance? Maybe work-life balance, sir, he wants to know.
Yeah.
Interesting question.
Yeah, it is.
Sare professional question puch rahe hain, so I thought I'll ask some personal question to you, sir.
Very important.
And yeah, can you reply that?
I don't have an answer, therefore you are asking this question. No, I will try. I will still try to answer. Depends actually. What is the definition of your family? For me, my family is extended family is my family of my dealers. So I'm enjoying in what I'm doing. And Rajesh, don't worry about my personal family. I think my personal family front also, I want to tell you that I have a beautiful daughter who's a doctor. I have 2 grandchildren, and they are my source of strength these days. I just recently lost my mother, completed 100 years, and 4 generations live with me. And I have a very supportive wife who has supported me. Yes, some small, sacrifices which I today realize that, maybe I may not have attended parent-teacher meeting at that time, which my wife keeps cribbing all the time now. She has not told me all these years. So, but I try to generally do work-life balance and work and personal life balance. There are some blood which I could have handled it slightly better, which I'm trying to compensate. So I think these 40 days of lockdown has given me good time to spend. Last 40 years, probably I would not have stayed 40 days in my house at one shot. So I'm trying to balance it. But yes, one son who is also a professional like you, who is operating through Japan. So I think if God has been very kind to me, and my mother also went very peacefully with 4 generations, after seeing 4 successful generations.
Absolutely. I don't know, Rajesh got his answer, others got their answer or not, but I think one thing which I picked, which was very good, is when Mr. Java started by saying it depends on the definition of your family. And if your family is your extended family, or your own personal family is also part of that extended group, I think then you are balancing the whole thing. So I think this is great. I have last question before I open the floor for people to ask you. My question, sir, would be on, because there are a lot of young leaders in this forum right now. There are a lot of people who are aspiring entrepreneurs or who have started already businesses. As a leader, as an experience, you have met number of tall leaders. You named few of them. I'm sure you have also dealt with a lot of partners who are entrepreneurs in India and abroad. What would be your, advice? 4-5 things people should take care while they are trying to scale up or build their businesses as a leader or as an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is also leading an organization. So what would be your 2 or 3 quick advice which will help them being successful and build their businesses and stay as passionate and as contented, happy and humble like you?
And this is not related to crisis. This is general words of wisdom you want, or
general,
in crisis,
yes.
Because in crisis, yes, things are slightly
No, sir,
different.
General, sir, general.
Okay. So I think fundamentals you should not forget is that you have to have a very clear vision. Passion is not a choice. You also have to have patience. And which I said, humility, I will repeat it. And you should be ready to sacrifice, whether you want to get onto the top leadership or you want to start your own business or you are entrepreneur, you have to have dedication and sacrifice. And of course, courage and cultural sensitivity while dealing with people outside India, because that's very important. So, each country culture is different. When you deal with Koreans, you have to deal differently. When you deal with Japanese, you have to deal with differently. And of course, knowledge is a starting point. And you can't rise to the top if you are not having a strong ethical background. Sooner or later, you will get exposed, because the higher you grow, you are being seen as a 16-year-old girl standing at the rooftop. What you eat, what you drink, with whom do you sit. All this is not your personal. When you are actually leading the organization, you are being seen by many stakeholders. So you have to be very clean. Ethics is something which you cannot compromise. And emotional stability, because emotions, again, when you use it rightly, it can do wonders. But if you actually use it wrongly, I have used it once or twice and I paid a big price. So I don't want people. So these are few of the things which come on top of my mind. Emotional stability also is as good as your all other characters.
Fantastic.
So I don't know if this gives you answer or no, but yes, these are some of the things which, or any responsible leaders or any revolutionary leaders, this might help, as I said. And you have, your philosophy should be value-driven, individual.
I think, sir, I would have got something, but I think I picked is about that when you're leading a business and organization, there are people around looking at you. So what you do, how you do, and you very well said that it is not about what you think, it's actually about how others are perceiving these things. So you have to be very careful, you have to be really responsible, and you have to act accordingly. Guys,
I would also request that, whosoever wants to see, because I have not talked about those 10 commandments which I have given it on my website. You have to practice what you preach, time management, don't do subordinates' job, help them in doing their job. You have to be open to audit, take audit as way of life, and you have to make things happen. You can't be coming, and targets are sacrosanct. And whether it is, Japanese or whether it is India, what we have learned is MBWA, management by walking around. So that is what is, you have to be closer. So I'm not getting into those 10 commandments, which I thought people would have read, those who know me or those who have worked with me or those are in all my branch offices, all my offices, the critical success factors, or I call it as Sarin's law. Which are very, very powerful. I would recommend that Sarin's laws should be followed. Which I strictly follow in my personal life and also in professional life. Those are mantras which are already given.
Yeah.
In crisis situation, you have to handle it differently. In crisis situation, accept things which you cannot change. And you have to display the courage what you can change actually. And add wisdom to that. So I think if you are having this much of digestion power, what I have talked, that is, I think, more than enough for today's session.
No, absolutely, Mr. Java. And those 10 commandments are really powerful. In fact, what I'll do, I'll share the link on our WhatsApp group, so the people who have not seen that, they can go on the website and on your LinkedIn site and look at them. Now, guys, we are left with another 10 minutes and 11 minutes. So if you have some questions in your mind which you want to ask directly to Mr. Java, I would request you to restrict your question more around leadership than about typical operational business. That will help you. But if you have something burning, you can definitely ask. And I would also request you, once you all can switch on your cameras so that we can have a group picture, because this time it's 4 differences, so I have to shift and take. Please switch on your camera so that we can have a group picture along with Mr. Java, Mr. Sukhdev Singh is there, and many other worth mentioning alumni today present. That would be good. Rajesh sir, Anu, Atul, Prashant, Pankaj, you're on the floor. If you just click on your camera, Mr. Bisla, Sumit Arora, Naresh, Rajesh Jain, these are the names. Indrajit Arora, these are the names on first sheet. So I want to just Rajesh, Atul, or what I can do then, I can say I can only see people who are with camera on. Okay. Okay, guys, give first sheet, give smile. I'm going to click picture. Here it is. Okay, now I go to group 2, and group 2 also Anshul, Sanjay, fantastic. This is full group, and here it is. And group 3, these are screens I'm shifting, guys. Here a lot of cameras are off. Mukesh, Satish, Rakesh Khurana, Ashish Patra, Vikas Jain. If you can just switch on your camera, Arvind, Manoj Malik, can you switch on your cameras for a click picture? Okay, I'll take like this only. Okay, I go to sheet 1 and once again click picture. Just give me a second, guys. And in the meantime, you can just think about the questions you have in your mind which you want to ask Mr. Java. So here I'm taking the last picture, guys, and floor is to you. Thank you. Yes, any questions? Yes, Pankaj, you want to ask a question? Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning to everyone.
Yes,
we all being alumni of YMCA are feeling pride to have you as a wonderful leader among us. And you had been successful in convincing and influencing central government highest level of our country to get attention of our honorable Prime Minister towards opportunities in future of air conditioning and refrigeration industry, and got this PLI scheme for many Indian entrepreneurs, which is now getting multiplied for the benefits of people of country. Many new projects are coming, many new job opportunities are coming. So how you overcome all these challenges and barriers and got success?
Secret sauce, sir. How could you convince government of India?
No, it is not me. As I keep saying that, it's a collaborative effort. It is a collaborative effort because I also firmly believe that individually you can only break barriers and collectively you can create a new horizon. I would say that, it's not my effort. The gentleman, and unfortunately we lost him in COVID, was a secretary, government of India in DPIT, Mr. Guru Mahapatra. One day he calls me for a 15 minutes meeting, and I was surprised that you are getting a call from a government office who had just moved from an airport authority to take over the secretary. And so that 15 minutes actually meeting went into a lunch meeting, Pankaj, for almost 1.5 hours. And I tried to tell him that what is that this country can gain. So. And then the moment started. He involved Mr. Amitabh Kant from Niti Aayog. He involved Invest India gentleman, Mr. Deepak Bagla. So collectively, we actually made use of industry platforms like FICCI and SOCHM and Rama. And the report was given together, which was consolidated by Boston Consulting Group. And the country potential was presented in a manner which had a lot of facts and figure and a lot of people's involvement. So I would not like to take the credit because, yes, the Prime Minister himself, the ministry himself was also very receptive to the idea, because then this Atmanirbhar, self-reliant Bharat was just starting, movement was just started. And everybody wanted to have FDIs. Today, if you look at FDI is all-time high. The forex reserves are all-time high. So this was 3 industries which were picked up, which one was leather industry, the other was furniture industry, and air conditioning industry. Because my discussion with him was started that maybe it was not getting attention from Commerce or Finance Ministry because our industry was always being seen as a luxury industry. So I think in a nutshell, if I am telling you that we displayed to them that, okay, the ecosystem is only 25% components which are being manufactured. So their focus was MSMEs. Their focus was small entrepreneurs. So we said that if you create the ecosystem, which already this country has a very fine example in the automobiles, I think this industry also has a potential to reach at that level of 1 lakh crore. This can give employment of 2.5 million to 3 million people in the country. And this can also open an export opportunity for 35 to 40,000 crore for this country, because you have capability of producing international level products which can compete you in international market, which are environment friendly. So once we displayed that what this industry is capable of, and this industry wants to display the might into, so it's a series of I happened to be in that seminar where Mr. Prime Minister was addressing in Tokyo, India-Africa summit. So it's just one collaborative effort and just to be at the right time at right place. So all of you are at the right time at right place. Many of you are entrepreneurs. Many of you are actually will be getting opportunity. And this is an opportunity. If we don't encash it, as I keep saying that, the opportunity is in your neighborhood. And the crisis which we have gone through has actually made you more tougher, more stronger. And you must believe that tough time does not stay tough, people do. And I think our own college is a very fine example that, has produced so many suppliers to automobile industry. They're all worked in many companies and they have experiences. So this is a golden opportunity for all of you to encash. But if you need to look at how to encash it, don't look at individual, because our message there was we tried to get all the biggies of MNCs and also big Indian people who were earlier having maybe a trading mentality or who were sourcing it from China and all. We created a platform. The vision was shared at a manufacturer association. Vision was also given to many component manufacturers, and all of them have responded, and I am actually grateful to all of them for this cooperation. So I wouldn't like to take that credit. Credit goes to all people like
Sure.
you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you for your humbleness once again. Sumit Arora has raised his hand. Sumit, what's your question? You have to unmute. Yeah, Sumit.
Yeah, I have. Hi, Java sir. Good afternoon. And
Hello.
once again, a very big round of applause and thank you to you, sir. You are an icon of this institute, and it was a pleasure to hear you out. Sir, I work for a pharma industry. In fact, we are machine suppliers to the pharma industry. And we are one of the world leaders in the technology that we offer. And incidentally, when I brought this company to India, we were very confident that it will be almost a cakewalk for us as far as the technology, because we bring what is done today, the other world does 10 years later on. So it is kind of absolute top rank technology, cutting edge technology. However, we found that the Indian market, despite I'm talking of even the polished segment of pharma, it also had its own set of nuisance value in terms of hand in arm deals, in terms of kickbacks, in terms of expectations of the customers. So, I mean, how has been your effort? Because we have a zero tolerance policy in terms of ethics and corruption, which we were surprised to note that even in it is so rampant even in private sector, and that too in large companies as well. So what has been your take and journey throughout in such a vast career, where I'm sure you would have come across these unethical demands or unjustified requests from several times from the customers? How do we handle these situations? Because you see, ultimately some of the other competitors would walk past you because they would oblige to such requirements. So despite having a better product, maybe not the best of prices, but we still end up on the losing side because we don't agree to the demands.
Sumit, thank you. I think though this should have been a private question, but still leave it to Mr. Java to answer that.
Yeah, I will answer in such manner that I enjoy a market share of 15% on room air conditioner. I enjoy a market share of VRV, more than 60%. I sell more VRVs than the next 5 competitors put together. And I'm also using this opportunity of crisis, getting into pharma industry, and where we have been very successful. In this crisis, what our biggest business was pharma and health industry, and also the hospitals, because we created a lot of COVID hospitals and all. So I know what you are actually trying to ask, and I will give you a question, because there are, you can't bring a technology and not succeed. And by no way I am telling you that, you should succeed by doing with the process which is not right. So I think you have to work around that. There are biggest hypocrites I see in America. Right? They keep saying that I don't do this, I don't do this, I don't do this, but at the same time, they also don't do it the way it is being done in India. So I think you have to try. Finally, you have to succeed without compromising. There are Tatas of the world. There are also Japanese who have zero tolerance on these ethics, and even Americans also have zero toleration on ethics. So I think you can't promise somebody that in India you will not succeed. At the same time, you cannot get into this bribing, etc. So try finally till you succeed. Have your targets in such a manner that which can there is still a market which is operating without all these kickbacks, etc. And if this becomes compulsory, I think I can also tell you how multinationals, American multinationals handle. There are legal ways of this. Maybe they appoint consultants only for this to handle. If 500 rupees, you may have to pay 5,000 rupees. So channelize that through the legal routes. You, as a CEO of the company or as a entrepreneur, you can do different things. But when you are actually having a responsibility of a corporation, you need to handle things which are above board. which cannot be compromised, and you have to have respect for the policies of your own corporation. And at the same time, don't forget that you have to succeed, otherwise they won't keep you.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to look at that market, maybe 85% of that market, what is there, which I don't participate. I may not be participating in the beginning in the government tenders, but today I know when I have created a brand, government also does not have any option but to come to me. Or maybe the consultants also have actually seen, once you create a brand, I think people also start putting you into a specification sheet where without doing also you can do what you want to achieve.
Thank you, sir. So we take last question from Brijesh Sharma, and after that I would request Anil Bhardwaj and Brijesh Tyagi, if they are there, to conclude the session by their vote of thanks or whatever wordings they want to do. But Brijesh, last question for the session from you.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Hanspal. Jawa sir, very good afternoon to you, and very insightful and very, very meaningful session we had in last 1 hour or so. I have a couple of questions which I'll just frame up for the paucity of time.
One question, Brijesh.
Yeah, no. So I'll just limit. So that's what I said. I'll just make it very crisp and clear. So Jawa Saab, one question which I have is, I'm sure you would have passed through that era of, when we were starting our careers, the only option available were government jobs, and slowly and steadily the private organizations started coming in and people started moving from government to private. Do you think, and what is your view, do you think the time has come that people should start looking into plunging into entrepreneurship? Because now with the initiatives of Government of India like Make in India, Atmanirbhar India, and so on and so forth, and do you think that there is a way forward for young guys to get into entrepreneurship?
Very subjective question, Brijesh ji. It depends actually on individual, what is your mindset. If you ask me, there are pros and cons both sides. And for a young entrepreneur, young fellow who's passing out from the college, what kind of, I think it all depends on individual to individual. I don't have a really very clear answer on this. I may look like blood, which I am, but each individual, it depends. Because what is changing very fast, and it is not today that big corporation will beat small anymore. It will be the fastest beating the slow. So I think when you actually get into entrepreneurship, do you have a knowledge? Do you have a vision? Do you have a clear roadmap? Do you have some kind of an experience? So ideal answer will be that get some experience before you jump into entrepreneurship. Because unless you have some basic knowledge of what you are going to do, because this has become a very sexy word that I want to start entrepreneurship. So I've seen both sides. I've made and seen very, very successful entrepreneurs. Out of 10,000 probably dealers of mine, 5,000 to 6,000, at least 50–60% have become entrepreneurs because where I was instrumental in working closely with them. I haven't seen anybody falling. But I think the most successful are those who have actually worked for a few years, slugged their way, and have seen the word. It should not be just that, okay, because entrepreneurship is good, because everybody should jump. Before jumping, they must know what I have talked earlier: vision, mission, cultural pillars, what market they are getting into, and what kind of competition they have, what kind of relationship building, how important it is. Because many times what people think entrepreneurship is a red carpet and they will succeed. While it may not be a red carpet, at the same time, my advice to that before getting into it, you should be prepared that it's a bigger sacrifice, because they should not go back after a few years that, oh, we made a wrong decision. So they should stand by that, and if they are better prepared, they'll be more successful. This is what my experience has been, those who have gone into entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And I'm sure that I'm seeing the chat box, people are writing and they all want to say, but being moderator of this program, I would request two people to say concluding words about their learning and thanking you. So I'll pick Brijesh Tyagi, who's a worldwide Honeywell leader operating out of Kuwait, and Anil Bhardwaj, who's our at present General Secretary of MOB. So Brijesh, first to you, quickly, maybe in 30 seconds, your words, your vote of thanks. Brijesh, are you there?
Sorry, I was on mute. Namaste to all. And thank you, Asim, for arranging this fantastic initiative. It's a great thing to start, and I hope we'll learn a lot through these sessions. So, Mr. Jawa, it was really a great pleasure to hear you, to know about you, and a few specific things. What I really always will remember is importance of ethics for leaders, the importance of communication, especially during crisis, how you handle the competition, collaborative, competitive approach, and finally the corruption. Either do it through legal way, manage it, or don't just go there and work in an area which is clean and which is better for you to work. So thank you. Thanks a lot. I think it's going to be a great series.
Thanks, Brijesh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bhardwaj, can we have you on screen, and if you can conclude? That has been
thank you. First of all, President MOB, thanks for, chairing the session, and no words are enough to tell what Mr. Jawa has done in last 1.5 hours. If rain was pouring outside, the wisdom was pouring inside this session. It was wonderful to listen to him. If I can sum up in 4 or 5 words, 10 commandments and all, we have heard all those things, and many of you must have heard. But, to say that knowledge is the starting points, then ethics are important. And then last but not the least, emotional stability. And you said wonderful things that all of us as leaders sometimes do have moments where, emotional stability is so very important. Rest, I will not sum up, but sincere thanks and gratitude to all the stalwarts. And I see many of them here. Rajesh Katyal sir is there. I just saw SK Mishra ji, and one can't name all these wonderful people who listen to this, wonderful session, and so very well coordinated by Scope and Asim Hanspal. Sir, and let's hope that we continue to mutually benefit with each other, mutually learn from each other. And thank you to everybody. Satish Chauhan sir is there, who has made this HVAC group. They keep on discussing professional things. So this is what MOB is all about. Let's share knowledge. Let's share success with each other. Let's handhold when somebody is not doing well. So thank you very much, Jawa Saab, and thank you to everybody for being such a wonderful audience also. Thank you.
Okay, before I say thanks and we say bye, and before that, Sukhdev sir, would you want to say some final words?
We have learned a lot from Mr. Jawa. I hope everyone, they are also, had a few things to take away with them. So that is all, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jawaji. And we hope we'll continue this for the future. Asim is he has organized very well. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye-bye. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jawa. And we will continue this. And there is a recording of this session we will put up on YouTube very soon on a YMCA MOB Learner YouTube channel we have created. And we'll keep on doing this week on week. Next week, we are going to have something about health, something about diets, diabetics, and everything. We have a guest speaker from outside, Dr. Shubha Benot, who is leading dietitian in Max Group Hospitals. And that's all. Thank you very much. Once again, Mr. Jawa, thank you very much. We are blessed to have you as one of our alumni. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.